Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Word Balloon comic book podcast. John Suntress here. More coverage from San Diego Comic-Con. It's myself, John Mayo, and Kay Kellam. John and Kay, of course, from the Comic Book Page podcast. And great to get with them. And we recorded this on preview day, a few hours before preview night began in San Diego. We found an empty room in the convention center, and John had his full equipment. He broke out all the equipment, and it sounds great. But it's just the three of us talking, no audience. And I like this. This was good. So happy to bring it to you today. More coverage coming in the days ahead on Word Balloon of Comic-Con and a few other things that I've recorded this week. But the panels are still to come. A great panel with Sal Abenati and a great panel with Trevor Goring. But, I gave you 3 episodes last week. I'm going to give you at least that many this week, if not more, because stuff is starting to back up, and I want to, also move forward with some of the connections that I made at Comic-Con and start pursuing those avenues as well as far as new chats. So stick around. Great stuff coming up in the days ahead, including this conversation today on Word Balloon. All brought to you by InStock Trades at InStockTrades.com. Take a look at some of the new trades that are out from InStockTrades.com, like from Vertigo, Red Thorn. The first trade is out, Glasgow Kiss, from David Bally and Megan Hetrick and Steve Pugh and Steve Olaf. It is 50% off, just $7.49. You can get Weird World trade paperback volume 1. Is this the Secret Wars stuff, or is this post-Secret Wars? This is post-Secret Wars. Sam Humphries and Mike Del Mundo giving us Where Lost Things Go. This is volume 1 of Weird World, and it is 50% off, just $8.99. Let's see, what else have we got? You can get Batman, Detective Comics, Volume 8, The Blood of Heroes, Francis Manipul and Brian Bucoletto and Pete Tomasi, the writers for this excellent trade, 50% off, $12.49. You can get Machine Man. How about reaching back for great stuff? The complete collection. Both Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby represented in this fine collection. 50% off. It's just $19.99 at InStockTrades.com. More great deals coming up. We'll talk about them at the end of the show, but you should do yourself a favor and go over there now for great books at great prices. InStockTrades.com. Word Balloon is also brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your support. They are the people that subscribe to Word Balloon monthly. And not asking for much, but if you can help the cause out, it's a big help to get me to the conventions and make the connections for some new conversations. So thank you, League, for your support. Go to wordballoon.com, and there's information on how you can subscribe to Word Balloon via Patreon. Word Balloon is free. It will always be free, but if you want to help, that's the place to go. Wordballoon.com or patreon.com/wordballoon. Even $1 a month makes a big difference. And if you like the content you hear at Word Balloon, it's a good way to support the show and help me make these trips, upgrade the equipment, and give you more great content every month here at wordballoon.com. Also, I wanted to let you know that Word Balloon is on a whole bunch of new platforms lately. I am starting to put out YouTube podcasts as well. It's the same content that you're hearing. It's just available now on YouTube. So we're at a few new platforms. I'm also on SoundCloud. So I just started last month with the July releases showing up on YouTube. SoundCloud, it's been a few months. But if you're interested in checking out more places to find Word Balloon, those are just a couple of the places to check out. All right, without further ado, I want to present the podcast panel that happened at San Diego, and it's me, John, and Kay. It's a really fun conversation, good catching up with them, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's listen to it now on Word Balloon. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're doing another podcast panel here at San Diego, but it's quiet time because we're recording this on Wednesday before preview night. And I'm very happy to be here, and it's me, John Suntress, from the Word Balloon podcast, and we've got John and Kathleen Mayo from Comic Book Page podcast, and it's good to see you guys, as always.
Yeah, good to see you, too, and I'm glad we could do this kind of before convention gets started, because, man, once this thing gets going, I get tired real quick. This convention has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm glad you said it, man, because you're a lot younger than me, and I'm creaking. And yeah, I know, I agree. My mind is tapioca, and I will do my best today, but I don't promise anything.
beyond having fun.
We walked around last night, and it's, again, full 24 hours plus before the convention's going. They're building the South Park stuff over in front of the Hilton gas lamp. They've got the Amazon stuff for Man in the High Castle and one or two other things. Then behind the convention center, they had a bunch of stuff being built for, I guess, the FX stuff. It's amazing the amount of construction and whatnot that happens in the immediate, 48 hours before the convention kicks off.
And they tear it down in hours on Monday morning, because I've stayed beyond Sunday a couple times, and it is fun seeing that, because literally by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday, you would have no idea that Comic-Con just happened. Yeah, it is a ghost town.
You walk down a thing for an early breakfast or whatever, and it's like, oh, they're tearing that stuff down. You come back, it's like, where did he go?
Yeah.
Once or twice we've gone out to Cabrillo National Monument on the Tuesday before con.
Okay.
And these big wraps on the sides of the hotels, and they look huge when you're right here. Well, as the crow flies, Cabrillo's about 5 miles from here, and you can make out what some of those logos on the hotels are for these wraps.
I wonder how that teardown goes. Is it like one big adhesive, like a Band-Aid? That's awesome. I'd like to be there for the unpeeling.
They get some guys bungee jumping from the top, just rappelling down, taking the whole thing down.
Can I have the NBC logo, man? That would look awesome on my garage door.
It's just crazy how literally big the advertising is on these things. They wrap the hotels. Some of the hotels, the elevators are taken over. I mean, this as a media and marketing opportunity is such a big thing these days.
They changed the face of the city for a few days.
Oh, sure.
Literally.
Absolutely. I wanted to see, I'm thumbing through the program, because as we talk about these wraparounds, I noticed, I was talking to Ed Cato, who's got the Captain Action license, and he's with Bonfire Advertising. He was telling me that, because I said at the time, I'm like, I was so burnt out from flying, I didn't even pay attention to what's on the hotels. And he said, it's mostly TV. And I also noticed that,
it is.
So I was wondering, how, because I keep hearing as the con was approaching that there weren't going to be as many films and film companies kind of doing their full haulage presentation. And I know that
Strain, Conan, Once Upon a Time, the Kiefer Sutherland Something Survivor, which the side face to that sounds political and is
Your next
really
president
funny.
Won't be elected, I think, is the phrase. And I'm like, too soon.
I noticed Emerald City for NBC and Timeless for NBC by Tin Fish. I had my my fish taco lunch that I always look forward to.
And across the street from that would have been the Suicide Squad stuff they're setting up at the Hard Rock.
Oh,
so
awesome.
that would be one of the few movie things.
Okay, and that makes sense.
And then also, I think in that basic area is where they're putting the Game of Thrones stuff.
Okay.
So
HBO.
A lot of this, they're advertising stuff that is very much centered to us as an audience, even if it's not comic books per se. It's still stuff we're very much interested in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very curious about the Wonder Woman Invisible Jet. I think it's supposed to be the cockpit.
Yeah, but are you expecting like a clear kind of plexiglass?
That would be awesome.
I'm kind of expecting a unveiling of nothing and going, here it is.
Yeah.
I figured one of the two. I'm hoping she's right, but I'm
hoping
expecting
you're right,
right.
I'm expecting a big unveiling of nothing.
Okay,
and there's also a very special force field that would appear as though there's nothing there, but it's there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's there. So I'm kind of bummed about the Wonder Woman panel. My friend Susan Eisenberg got denied and wasn't even invited. And if anyone has been carrying the torch playing Wonder Woman for the longest time, hey, love you, Linda Carter, but Susan's got her beat by 4 times as many years. I mean, Susan's done it for 12 years and Linda did it for 3.
Yeah.
Not cool. I mean, it's all about the movie, and I get that.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, it's kind of like Kevin Conroy as Batman. Honestly, I mean, Susan's always been Wonder Woman for a generation of fans.
And there's an aspect of pay tribute to the history of the actors and stuff that have built up this stuff to get us where we are today.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing, man. And I really think that those Warner animated shows, man, I'll tell you, I know a good generation of the people I interview that, that was their entry point to comics, was Batman animated series, Superman animated series, and Justice League.
I think without the Bruce Timm Dini stuff, we would be looking at a different industry right now.
Totally.
And not a better one, because I think they really understood the core of Batman, of Superman, of the Justice League, and made it so accessible, so exciting for a whole generation. You know, much like the Fox X-Men cartoon did for a group of people.
Oh, yeah.
I think, again, every generation kind of has their cartoon. For me, it was Super Friends.
Sure.
You know, and
I was at the tail end of that, and I got the Saturday morning and afternoon reruns of Spider-Man, the Bashki Spider-Man and Marvel superheroes, and it's so funny now how people just crap on the Marvel superheroes, and it's like, yeah, but they're using real comic book art in that,
and stories too. I think.
Absolutely, totally, man. The Space Phantom is the Avengers 2 is totally done in a Hulk cartoon.
Yeah,
there's the first appearance of the X-Men is in a Submariner cartoon, and it's when they took the Fantastic Four. Dr. Doom Submariner story where the Baxter Building gets launched into space. And instead of the Fantastic Four, it's the X-Men.
Interesting.
And it's crazy. But Professor X is there, and Cyclops, and Angel. And
all right, this is something I got to ask since we're talking about cartoons. You're just enough older than me, and really not that much, I think, but the Hanna-Barbera cartoon stuff that DC's kind of revamping and retooling. I've read the first issue of Flintstones, the first 2 issues of Future Quest, the first issue of Wacky Raceland, and what was the other one they did? Scooby Apocalypse. First
yes.
For me, I watched a lot of those cartoons, I guess more in reruns than first run.
Probably Cartoon Network and Boomerang and stuff like that.
Even before then.
Oh, when Turner was doing it, I guess, before then.
I would say
pre-Turner.
Before, when it was still ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS as the channels.
Okay.
Just they would rerun the Scooby-Doo stuff on the Saturday morning.
Well, definitely that
like
stuff. I was thinking more of the pure adventure, like Galaxy Trio.
Well, I remember seeing them as kids, but I know the copyright stuff on that is like late 60s.
Right.
And I'm really late 60s for my copyright, so I know I didn't see it live. But how is that stuff working for you? Because I think you may be a little bit more in the...
Well, I mean, I love Future Quest because Doc Shaner... absolutely is a Toth-inspired artist, and I know Jeff Parker. I mean, he gets it, and that was clear from his Batman '66 stuff, and even his Agents of Atlas stuff. I would say,
no, I agree. With that.
So that's the right team. I love J.M. DeMatteis and DeMatteis. I never get the name right, but I am not a big fan of Scooby Apocalypse. I'm glad they're also still doing a traditional Scooby-Doo comic.
Well, they're doing 2, and what gets me is
that's right, because there's the team-up one,
team-up.
Too,
I recently
read
issue 16 of that.
The Marvel Family one?
The Marvel Family one.
That was awesome. Doc Shaner again.
It was brilliant. That was a series that a number of my listeners had recommended on our yearly, what do you like podcast episode. Okay. And I'm like, I haven't read this. I should check this out. And I saw the Marvel Family one. It's like, okay, I'll do that. I've since picked up the 2 trades and the missing issues. I think I still got it at number 15. But I mean, they captured both the Scooby aspect, the Marvel Family aspect, the melding of the stuff. And it was something that is all ages. It's not written down, and it's got the wholesome fun. It was brilliant.
No, it's great. It really is great. Yeah, I'm not but it's Scooby Apocalypse. I get it. I'm just not. I don't like the new designs, man. I'll tell you. Somebody, Jim Lee did a great job for all the designs for Injustice. I mean, that's all interesting and fun. I can't say I was a big fan of a lot of his designs for the new 52. Really not feeling it for these Scooby Apocalypse characters. I don't think it's necessary. And I read the Flintstone one, the first issue. I appreciated the humor, but it still smacked of those John Goodman movies and whoever was in that second one with
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis was in the John Goodman one.
Right, he was
Stephen
funny.
Baldwin and the big fat British guy who was in. No, because even Jane Krakowski or whatever her name is from 30 Rock, she's Betty. What's her face? Tall, funny woman from Third Rock from the Sun is Wilma. British guy who...
I don't think I ever saw this. I haven't seen...
Viva Rock Vegas. Again, I appreciate the humor. It reminds me of the live-action films, which are kind of a poor cousin to the Hanna-Barbera greatness. In fact, you remember in the either late 90s or early 2000s, was it John Kay or somebody else who... Or was it Gendy Tarakovsky or whatever his name is, who did a Cartoon Network 70-minute Flintstone movie, and it kind of resembled the Hanna-Barbera look, but it was a little more...
Because the look was a little different. The story felt deeper than the cartoon did for the Flintstones comic and stuff.
The new comic.
Yeah, the new comic.
Yeah. No, and that's why I appreciated the humor. I don't care for the art. I just think they're trying too hard to make it look real. And it's like, no, man, this is like, you wouldn't do that to Mickey Mouse. You wouldn't do that to any signature trademark hero or cartoon character that you can think of. No, that's what Bugs Bunny's supposed to look like. That's what Fred Flintstone is supposed to look like. Don't mess with that. And that Cartoon Network full-length movie, they got people who could do Alan Reed, like an Alan Reed kind of genuine Flintstone voice. So did you see the documentary, I Know That Voice, the one that
I have
DiMaggio
seen that.
made? The guy who does currently Fred Flintstone, when he broke down, well, Alan Reed sounded like this, and I forget the guy's name who did the 70s after Alan Reed passed away, who did all the Flintstone Pebbles, Bonnie, that guy. He did his voice, and then he combined them, and it's the most amazing thing watching the guy do that. But for the for the Cartoon Network one, I just remember there's a scene where Fred and Wilma go to a marriage counselor, and Wilma is imitating Fred to the counselor, and in Fred's voice says, "Hey, Bonnie, want to come over and come up with a scheme that not only will screw up our money, but also jeopardize our marriages?" "Oh, sounds great, Fred. I'll be right over." And that just, I still remember it. Yeah. It's like one of the funniest things I've ever. "Oh, sounds great, Fred. I'll be right over."
I've got the that video was talking about. I Know That Voice.
John DiMaggio, yeah.
I want to have you watch, because I think it'd be fun to review, because there were a couple of parts where it's like, okay, now I can put a face to the voice for some of these guys.
Yeah, man.
But also the craft these voice actors have.
Yeah.
The guy who did, I think it was Elmer Fudd, no, Porky Pig.
Okay.
And he was breaking down how to insert, the syllables just right to get the formula for it.
No, the mechanics, exactly. No, that's really interesting. I agree.
And they had kind of the pop-up characters or whatever animating, kind of showing you what he's doing.
That's awesome.
And it's like, wow, it's like, he's got this down to a science, and he's nailed the voice. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And it's really cool that, Sweet June Foray was still, in her 90s and still, showing up for work and everything. And, yeah, no problem. I'll be there. So that's cool. Yeah.
These are the kinds of guys that can come to a convention like this, and unless they're on a panel or something like that, you can walk by and not have any idea who they are, but have enjoyed literally thousands of hours of entertainment because of them.
All right, this will test your age. Stan Freberg, you know Stan Freberg?
I know of.
Okay, he was here at Comic-Con 2010, 2011, and it was right before what was the HBO vampire show? First Blood, Bad Blood?
First Blood.
First Blood. Was it First Blood or is that
True
Rambo?
Blood.
True Blood, thank you.
There you
True
go.
Blood, exactly. First
There's a lot of
Rambo.
blood. It's just,
yeah, Innocent Blood, of course, the Don Rickles vampire movie with John Landis. Anyway, so people were in for the True Blood, panel, and just filling the room. But Stan was first, and Stan's wife introduced Stan, and she's like, "Look, I know you're here for True Blood." And I'm sure when you see Stan Freberg, you have no idea who this guy is. Let me go through his resume. And she's like, he was the beaver in Bambi. He was I forget what animal he was in Lady and the Tramp. And all of a sudden a few women go, "Oh," and it was great. And they just went through his resume, and it's like, oh, we do know this guy, and we do like this guy. Yeah. And he rocked. He was hilarious, and it's so cool. And, he was one of those last guys that, worked with Mel and worked with June Foray back in the day and everything.
Again, there was that classic group in the day. We've had a lot of very talented people since then. But I think it's a bit of a different industry, because I think they tend to do, I don't want to say fewer voices, but it's not like, again, you had the Mel Blanc that would do, everybody or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, and obviously maybe to keep costs down as well in some cases. But the great thing is a lot of the modern people, like I was saying about the guy who broke down Fred Flintstone, they really want to recapture the vibe of that classic stuff.
They're fans of it.
Did you see the Tom and Jerry Johnny Quest movie?
No.
I would not have watched it had my friend Heath Corson not written it. And I saw it, and it is great, especially the first 10 minutes is pure Tom and Jerry, and it looks like an authentic 40s Tom and Jerry cartoon. The gags are great. They are silent. They don't talk, which is great. And even when they finally get together with the Quest family, none of the animals talk, including Bandit. And they have their own little interactions with Bandit while they're trying to solve this mystery. And it was a very successful combination of the two. That and my favorite Scooby-Doo movie is one that James Tucker wrote, and it happened at a Comic-Con. And it was like the mystery of the Blue Falcon. And the whole conceit of the movie was that they were retooling a new Blue Falcon movie and going to make it like for today's audience. And Dynomutt suddenly became kind of a RoboCop kind of serious
I've heard about
robot.
that one.
It's very funny. And the great thing about it is all of the action Hanna-Barbera cartoons are represented at this Comic-Con in different, aisles and stands and stuff like that. So, like the Galaxy Trio is sitting around doing autographs and stuff like that. It's great. I mean, these are if you're a convention fan and stuff, that you got to see that movie.
No, I need to check that one out because when I was after reading Future Quest and the Scooby team up, it's like I need to dig back into some of the Hanna-Barbera library because it's classic stuff. It holds up.
Oh yeah. Oh no, and I think even a lot of the adventure stuff. I mean, I think Birdman and I think especially Johnny Quest, my God.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure watching Johnny Quest. Mm-hmm. And I remember it, I'm sure you do too, as a kid, summertime in the summertime reruns, they would run it in prime time. Sometimes.
I actually didn't watch that much Johnny Quest. My familiarity with the character is more from the comics that, was it Now or Kamiko did?
Kamiko,
that's what it was.
Those were good.
Oh man, the art was amazing on those too.
Well, and Steve Rude was doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Steve Rude had his heart broken by Alex Toth. He sent him a Johnny Quest comic, and in typical Alex Toth fashion, he's like, well, you got this wrong, you got that wrong. It's a gun and it's raining. I don't know how the hell the gun's going to fire if the gun's wet. And poor Steve's just like, oh, okay, thanks.
That's rough.
I'm still a fan.
Yeah. Oh.
You don't deserve to be my fan. Thank you, Alex. Good man. Those were the days.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And Steve Rude doing an excellent job kind of pitching in for Doc on Future Quest. I think they had a few inventory stories because Doc is a slow artist to begin with, but also he just had a baby.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah,
That's
and I mean, it's
impactful into the schedule.
Because, yeah, he's great. And I'm like, hey, word balloon. He's like, oh, dude, we're about to have a baby. I'm like, I will talk to you next year. You take care. Good luck to you. I can talk to Parker in the meantime. But, yeah, and I like the Wacky Races Apocalypse. I kind of like how weird it is.
It was too Mad Max for me.
Yeah, it is.
I remember the cartoon fondly, and this is so different.
It is, and that's and that's so. Who is it for? Because that's the question. Are you? I mean, I was at a couple DC. I was at one DC retailer summit, and Dan was. I got to tell you, we're really excited about this Hanna-Barbera stuff, and it's great, and we're doing this, and we're making it a little different. And I'm like, yeah, but do kids care about this? I'm like, the only people that would care about this are people with, from a sentimental memory value.
Okay, so I haven't been to that retailer summit. However, I've listened to that retailer summit. You even asked a question there, I believe. The guys.
Oh, did someone release it?
Cowabunga Comics recorded it, released it.
I did ask a question.
And what got me was this whole thing, and not the whole thing. Most of it was about the rebirth stuff before.
Well,
it was done.
yeah, because he kind of felt like he owed everybody an apology. Sorry that our comics suck, basically.
And I appreciate that they apologized because
they did suck.
But what got me is for that last part of it, okay, because the first 20 minutes is all about the Hanna-Barbera, how we're going in a new direction, doing new takes on these things and shaking things up, followed by we're going to go back to the old, comfortable, familiar feel for the DC stuff because when we shook it up, it didn't work. They didn't say it that way, but it seemed like mixed messages for me.
Well, yeah, I guess they want to experiment and feel they probably safely can with Hanna-Barbera because those books only do a certain number. Anyway.
Well, and to your point, they're keeping the Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, and the Scooby Team-Up stuff going.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're turning off the old material.
Right.
And it's not like we were getting any of it anyways for Flintstones or the Johnny Quest stuff or things like that. So,
but that's the thing. We weren't getting, with the rare exception of some digital comics like Adventures of Superman and the Legends of the Dark Knight and the Wonder Woman digital comic, we weren't getting your core DC product that all of us grew up on until 5 years of a downward spiral, and finally, okay, we get the message. You don't care anymore, and it's like, yeah, we don't care anymore.
Well, because they disconnected us from the characters,
right? And everything you knew doesn't. Sorry, that didn't happen. Especially the Titans, which is so stupid because that is the core of the demo. That's the core of your demographic that you want and everything. And I understand. I mean, I didn't have that love affair with the Titans like my friends did and my younger friends did, but I get it. And to suddenly be like, yeah, that maybe happened, maybe it didn't. We're really not interested in that. Let me tell you some stories about Tim Drake and Cassie and all these third-generation sidekicks and stuff that we don't care about as much.
When we were kids, Mom would go grocery shopping so we could eat. I appreciate that. I like eating. But while she was doing the grocery shopping, I would, let her go do that. I would head over to the comic rack over at the grocery store, back when they had those. That's how old I am. And this was around the time of New Teen Titans, All-Star Squadron, Superboy and Legion was changing to Legion of Superheroes. It was a really good time for DC.
Oh, yeah.
So I was growing up on those comics. So when they hit New 52, and it's like you said, New Teen Titans, who are they kind of a thing? There's a bit of an off-putting aspect to that. And for them now to say, oh, yeah, mistakes were made, we're going to kind of fix. And particularly from that roadshow, I got the sense of mistakes were made, but not necessarily full ownership of who made them. Because to me, it was endemic of an editorial disconnect somehow. Either they were hiring people who were good editors, but maybe not comic fans, or vice versa. Something to where right now with Rebirth, and I hope it succeeds, and initial numbers indicate that they are, they're trying to give us back what they think we want. And I hope they're correct on this. Because just the couple of Rebirth titles in June totaled up to more sales than all of DC had been doing any other month this year.
That doesn't surprise me. What I'd be interested in, and you're the guy to ask when you have a chance to crunch the numbers, is initially that for that first year or almost year, there was a big honeymoon for the New 52.
Yes, there was.
Because it was fresh and it was different, and I think people were willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and see. And there were some good books. Mm-hmm. Animal Man was good. Swamp Thing was good. Yes, Snyder doing Batman and Jeff Johns doing Green Lantern, those were good, and they didn't touch those. Flash was still very good. Brian Bucoletto and Francis Manapul, they were doing a good job. So there were a handful. But then nothing happened. I mean, that's the thing. Like, after that first initial blush, stories just dragged on, and there didn't seem to be a point of where is all this, because they gave us the assumption that there was going to be something with Pandora.
Yes.
And that there was some big secret and something was happening.
Well, and
it never happened.
Forever Evil was kind of the payoff for that.
I guess. Yeah,
and
you're
I use
right.
payoff lightly.
And you're right. No, you are right, but that's the thing. And then afterwards it was like, whatever. I mean, they made Superman literally unrecognizable.
Yes.
And it didn't occur to me until I just talked to Dan Jurgens. They remade Superman into Mon-El. They gave him Mon-El's haircut. They gave him Mon-El's costume. If you made Superman's New 52 costume red and blue, it had the same stupid collar. It totally covered his neck. And I'm like, oh my God, they turned him into Mon-El.
Reverse the colors, yeah.
And they made him into Mon-El. And it's like, that's not Superman. It's got to look like Superman. I love what Jurgens and Tomasi are doing right now.
Yeah.
I think it's excellent. I mean, that's the thing. I'm a big fan. And if, I guess the naysayers are like, DC stands for Dad's Comics. Well, I guess I'm a dad then, because I like it. They're getting back to what made these characters interesting. They're bringing the unity back. I heard there was a huge editorial note during the New 52. No, we don't want families. We want renegades. We want outsiders. We want, and it's like,
that's not what I want.
Well, and also that's not what your company was built on.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically ignoring, and it was such weird timing because it was literally right after they had celebrated their 75th anniversary. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, happy 75th anniversary. Okay, that's old news. Now we're doing this. And I assumed that a lot of it was to reestablish new origins and things to make them corporately owned, and so that they didn't have to worry about the estates of some of these, former, creators and stuff. I don't know.
That's an interesting point, because I felt the New 52 came out of just really low sales and some apathy and stuff, and they needed to reinvigorate things.
Yeah, kick it in the pants, yeah.
But we're, again, going through a similar thing with Rebirth now. And look at how many characters from the New 52 era and the new Rebirth stuff are new versions of old characters, and how few are actually new characters. I mean, if you look at the Legends of Tomorrow comic,
right,
they bring back Sugar and Spike, these baby characters, as Private Eyes.
Yeah.
Versus create new characters. It's almost as if they're making a point of not creating new characters.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. I mean that's one comic though, and I don't know what else you're doing with Sugar and Spike, because for years it's they wouldn't do anything.
They did nothing with them.
Well, they did nothing with them domestically, but internationally they were still very popular.
Really?
Yeah. The original books and stuff. Well, because it's that Asterix, kind of crowd of European comic lovers, and the silly kid stories kind of fit that world and everything. So no, and I want to say, was it E. Nelson Bridwell that I think did Sugar and Spike?
I was thinking Shelley
Moldenoff or whatever.
Yeah. I may be thinking the artist though. It might be the two of them though.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. All right,
I got them in the old Digest comics.
Oh, that's fun. I remember too. Didn't they come out with a big dollar size Sugar and Spike at one point? I thought they did.
They might have during the Silver Age fifth week event they did back in mid '90s.
Oh, funny, because I was even thinking back in again in the '70s or whatever.
Okay,
when those big oversized dollar comics.
They probably did at that point.
But yeah, no, it's that doesn't bother me. But you're right about I haven't been reading the Legends of Tomorrow comic. Is it Robbie Raymond? Is it the kid from the show?
Robbie and Jason. It's as if it picked up from the Firestorm series of the New 52.
Oh, funny.
And Legends of Tomorrow, the comic book, is basically a Firestorm series, a Metamorpho series, a Sugar and Spike series, and Metal Men, all under 1 pages of one cover.
Do they alternate, or do they only have four?
It's 80 pages.
Oh, it's an 80-page book.
So it's like 4 monthly books under one roof.
Oh, wow!
And
how much does it cost? $5?
$7.99, I think.
Okay.
It's still a better deal than if you were to get all 4 individually.
Okay.
But if you only want one of them, it's not so much of a deal.
Why would you give it the TV title and not have it be?
That I'm not sure, because Firestorm's the only possible connection.
Yeah.
And while it's got Professor Stein and Ronnie in there,
So Martin Stein is still around. That's good.
But he's not part of Firestorm. He's like the advisor.
Oh, he's okay. So he's not part of the Matrix. He's just advising them back at the lab.
So it's a different take on the character.
Yeah. Weird.
So
Conway's writing it though, isn't he?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love him. I'm so happy for him. He is one of those guys that I'm really happy when they give him something new to do. He always writes something interesting. Last Days of Animal Man.
Just as a quick aside, if you hear rumbling like we're being attacked by Godzilla or something, I'm assuming that they're testing out the Hall H sound system beneath us.
That's my guess. Yeah, I mean, honestly, at Comic-Con, you get kind of used to it. And I'm sure, being in California, there might be some event that might happen during a Comic-Con.
Either that or it was a quake, one of the two.
Exactly.
I just thought I'd mention.
That's so funny. That happened in Illinois when I was broadcasting downstate, and we actually did have an earthquake.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, it's not an earthquake. We're in Illinois, for God's sake. And they're like, Illinois is under a fault, too. And and it was an earthquake. And it's like,
live and learn.
So, what's going on podcast-wise, man? How's things going?
It's going good. It's busy. We've been doing 3 episodes a week now since April of last year.
Good for you, man.
We're covering all kinds of movies, television shows.
Are you still opening your...
Still doing the box lights.
I love when you do that. That's awesome.
Matter of fact, we did one this morning from the hotel room.
Oh, awesome. What was the theme?
This was the Wizard Comic-Con box that had come for the month, and it was...
Crew.
Crew was the theme.
Are you getting these as a press bonus, or are you paying for your subscriptions?
I'm paying for my subscription.
Well, that's all right. I mean, these are businesses. I was going to say either way. Okay, and you find them worth it? Are they fun?
1 or 2 we've stopped doing, and a few others are kind of on the chopping block. Others we're definitely enjoying.
Are you doing advertising on your show?
I do not do advertising. I do not do sponsorships. And
How come?
Part of it is, and this is part of why we pay for the boxes versus doing.
Well, I was going to say you could write them off if you're right. I would think.
Well, yeah.
We will write them off. Don't get me wrong on the tax purposes, but I figure if somebody gives me stuff or is paying me to do stuff, I want to be able to speak my mind, and if I don't like something, to just flat out say that. And
I respect that.
More importantly, if I say something positive, I don't want it discounted because somebody thinks, well, he's been bought.
Okay, no, I get that, and it's funny because I, for a brief time, did an arrangement with a company, and I started to feel like I feel like I'm not being true, even though I don't do reviews. I feel like I'm selling a product that I don't really have faith in. So I get that. But I mean, there are enough other sponsorships that I mean, even God, discount comic book service that sponsors so many of us and everything. I feel,
they've offered a time or two for me.
That's cool, because I was going to say, and I promote the service because I believe in it. It's a good service.
Same here. It's a great service,
and they're wonderful people, and that's the thing. And it's like, no, it's a good deal. Like people should shop with them.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure they're hearing a In Stock Trades commercial on my version of this show. So, but no, it's true. I mean, but it's interesting though. Chicago just had the podcast movement conference last week. I wasn't able to attend because I had a work conflict and I couldn't go. But I did get feedback from a lot of friends that went that do other types of podcasts, not nerd culture stuff. And no, it's interesting. And also with podcasting right now, there's the affiliate advertising. Use this code and you get so much off,
right?
And things. And it's someone made the point, and I agree with them. It's like they want podcasters to prove that their audience is actively pursuing this product. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Do you do this with newspapers? Do you do this with television? And it's a fair comment to respond back and everything and say, wait a minute. Because I think, and again, it's not just us. It's not just geek culture. The biggest, Adam Carolla and Hardwick and them, they do Harry's Razors. They do, I'm blanking, right? Audible or whatever and everything.
The part that gets me with the whole marketing, advertising, and all that kind of stuff is not just podcasts have to prove themselves or whatever. But, I've been doing the preview spotlight on a monthly basis for over 100 months now. We just had the 100th episode of that a couple of months back. And I've basically said this is an open submission thing. So if you're a publisher, if you're a creator, if you're a marketing person at one of these companies,
feel free.
Their PR person or whatever, send in a clip of what they're doing, promote their stuff. And by and large, they just don't. And I'm like, here's an opportunity where not only do I have the right target audience, I've got them prepped looking for things to go buy.
Sure.
This is a wonderful opportunity. And I don't know what it is about the nerd space that kind of makes that disconnect kind of happen.
Well, I also think there are so many podcasts.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
So if they're not, I take nothing for granted, and truly, I mean this because I don't want to whatever. I've been doing it 11 years.
Oh yeah.
But I don't take it for granted that someone knows who I am, and and especially at a place like this.
No.
And that's fine. It's okay. So,
but they don't seem to see value in submitting a 30-second clip about their
I don't
comic.
expect them to have just heard about
you said like a voicemail,
right.
basically.
Yeah. I'm like, I've gone.
And have you gone into them directly?
To some of the publishers directly. I do this. Here's the card for it. Whatever. And it's like, if they don't want to take advantage of the opportunity, that's fine. That's their decision.
And even like the Valiants or the the second tier,
the smaller publishers. I've gone to a couple that I think have some good material, and it's like, hey, I want to promote you, but I'm picking this out of preview, so I don't always have the lead time. I may have missed something until I see it, whatever. You know what's coming. You know what you want promoted. But.
Are you at the convention going to actively network in that capacity?
Yes, sort of, but not whole hog.
Okay.
I'm here mainly as an attendee, not, as the hype machine for the podcast.
I'm 50-50. Because I'd say even a 3/3, because I would say a third of me is out doing some press junkets and trying to get a few interviews. A third of me is just enjoying the show, and a third of me is also trying to drum up business. Because
for you with the interviews, this is a great opportunity for you.
But mostly for networking.
Yeah. For networking.
Because I like doing an hour-long interview and stuff. So it's like, and also I know how valuable the creators' times are.
Oh God!
Oh yeah.
This convention particularly.
Yeah.
So literally, it's just, hey, how's it going? Like DC offered, hey, we're doing floor interviews. Well, last year they were doing stage interviews on kind of the way Marvel's been doing it for the last few years. And I said, because they arranged, and I said, I haven't talked to Libra Mayo yet, and that's good. Good introduction to just do 10 or 15 minutes with him, and hey, let's do something longer later. Well, they had, in fact, Susan Eisenberg being interviewed by Heath Corson, two of my friends on stage, and it was blasting.
Yes.
And I'm right next to him, and I'm like, I can't use this audio.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the PR person is like, what's the problem? And I'm like, well, the problem is this is an audio interview. Now, this isn't a print interview.
Yes.
And you're not really facilitating this interview.
It's funny how much easier it is to edit out music or loud rumbling in a print interview than on audio.
I know, man. And then this year, I said, well, because they're like, hey, these are the creators. Would you like to do any talks? And I said, last year you didn't have a separate space, and I found a lot of interference with what was going on stage. And I said, look, I get it.
Yeah.
This is for the fans. Mm-hmm. By all means, I saw the people standing watching these live interviews. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
It's a good way to keep people,
Absolutely.
going to your booth and checking out your stuff, and that's great, and that's wonderful, but it doesn't help me for my purposes. And they said, well, good news. This year we're going to have a 2-floor booth.
Interesting.
Well, and
You'll be directly above the loud noise-making speaker.
Atta girl. Exactly, because literally I said, well, is it an enclosed second floor? I said, because if not, I said, really, we've got the same problem. They're like, oh, it's not enclosed. I said, well, then thanks, but no thanks. I'm like, and again, I'm like, it's not their responsibility to think of everything like that. I'm sure though, that at other conventions, when they offer interviews, they would have a separate ballroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you would have a room like we're in right now, where you could have a normal conversation with creators, and they bring them from the floor and down, and that was great. It's okay because it's really expensive.
Yes.
I'm sure it's that much more to have an additional room for
and there's
interviews.
less space for them to have access to here.
It would be a 20-minute walk just within the exhibit hall and up to a quiet room for that kind of a thing here.
That's true
anyways. So I get the impracticality of it.
I've been making sure when we receive invitations to things, like we got an invitation to the press room for the 50 years of Star Trek with nice list of actors from the Star Trek shows.
I got that one too.
Mm-hmm. So when I RSVP'd for that, I made it very clear to them the format of our podcast. It releases at least a week after the convention is over, sometimes 2, that our format is a conversation between the two of us, sharing what we discovered at the convention, what we're excited about and stuff. Because I find if they know what kind of coverage they're going to get, they're a lot more cooperative, and they're not as upset or disappointed of, hey, I thought you were coming here with a list of questions to ask, and I thought it would be a printed article up the next day.
Did you get a response back?
I got accepted for both of us.
I didn't, which is I'm like,
that's
and I kind of whatever, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know if I did.
I also I got the accepted within the past 24 hours. And I also made sure to mention that we had reviewed both the Star Trek movies, one of which we did within, I believe, the past month, in anticipation of the one
God, I hope
that's
they don't
coming
listen
out.
to that one.
Why?
This was one of the episodes.
Oh.
We had a minor technical glitch. The device in front of me we're recording on has a volume knob.
Yes.
That was set poorly on my track.
Well, that's happening. That's happened to me.
I like
fixed
those.
a lot of it, but yeah, it's kind of embarrassing.
I like the
It just
podcasts
happens.
where you sound like you're underwater and I sound perfect.
But I found with a lot of the marketing people, if you set their expectations and work with them, they're easy to deal with. I mean, their whole job is to get the word out there, and you're helping them out.
Yeah, but I've been telling most of the ones that I do answer back to of basically this is a fact-finding mission for us for future podcasts, not a we're recording here in the moment.
I have had a year or two where I did a lot of recording here at the convention, some even on the hall floor. And on the one hand, it's fun to have the crowd rumble and stuff. But on the other hand, going from, okay, this guy's in Artist Alley, I've set up a time with him, to this guy's on the far end of the hall, I've set up another time with him.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm not in shape for that.
No, it does. That's the one great thing. That, and also I've said this as well online on social media. I'm all for Pokemon Go if it gets us off our couches and moving. And that's kind of how I feel about the con.
Yeah.
I welcome the exhaustion and the effort to walk around and stuff. But you're right. And that's why, like I said, for me, when it comes to doing interviews, it really is more networking.
Yeah.
Because that's but I leave myself open.
do.
Yes, but I leave myself open for the opportunities of things like the Star Trek thing if it comes through. And I guess it didn't, and that's I won't deny. I'm like, oh man, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I would have loved that, but that's okay. I am on the Under the Red Hood, or not Under the Red Hood, Killing Joke.
Oh, okay.
So I'm on that press junket. So it'll probably be my best chance to get 5 minutes with Kevin Conroy. So
That'll be cool.
So it's great. People are popping in, and I think because we're set up the way we are, I think they think we actually do belong in here. So I do think they're like, oh, sorry, okay, because every now and then the door opens up. So for those things, I leave myself open for those possibilities, but I try not to schedule interviews during Comic-Con for that very reason, like you said, and everything. I mean, it's nuts. Greg Pak last year had his Dark Horse Western.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he really wanted to do it. And instead, I'm like, okay, instead of that, let's do that on the phone, but will you come to the podcast panel? And he did, and he was awesome.
So great guy. Great guy.
So, good man. Oh, yeah, I love Greg.
Well, that's part of what's fun about this convention is there's something for everybody, and no matter what your interests are, what your current tastes are and stuff, you can find something out there that'll just really float your boat and get you excited.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so much other stuff. It's also a sensory overload in that.
Yeah, it is. If you're not prepared for it. I understand.
I have yet to figure out how to prepare for that part of it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Dude, I mean, at this point, you guys have been going longer than I have. I love it. I say it's like really expensive summer camp. Because it is. Because you guys are a perfect example. I run into my out-of-town friends.
Yep.
Yeah.
We get to hang for a while. We swap stories. It's good to see everybody. And we're in a great, city that is perfect weather. And, I mean, it's like, all right, this is costing me an arm and a leg, but it's worth it. And it's fun. And it does. I do end up getting business. It's Art Baltazar. I always like to quote him. He says, you can't afford to go, but you can't afford not to go.
Yeah.
And when you're at a certain stage in your career, and for him, obviously, more of a publishing thing, but I'd even say it from a podcasting thing. I don't know, man. I still have that pipe dream because I know that, and I'm assuming you're doing it really for the love of it. And everything. I am doing it for the love of it as well, but I will not deny my broadcast agenda because I see the future, and I saw the future 11 years ago when I started doing this.
If I could retire from my day job and do this full time, I would love to do that.
Well, and the way to do it is to pursue. Keep on doing it, and luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Absolutely,
and that's what we do. I mean, we're prepared. We do our shows each week, and we've got a product that we can do. We come to these conventions, and that's why. So that is that third of me just kind of networking and nosing around and seeing what kind of business I can drum up. Because that's the one thing I got from not going to that podcast conference, but hearing about it is. Everyone is kind of aware that the podcast machine is only going to get bigger.
Yeah.
And I heard this from the radio pros that I know that went to it as well. And no, they are starting to get it, and they're a little nervous in terms of we really should do more than what we do on the air to kind of spread our brand around.
Well, absolutely, because I think radio is literally broadcast,
mass media
out there and stuff. And what we're doing is much more narrow casting. It's niche casting and stuff like that. And what I love about it is I've been able to connect with people around the world that have similar interests in what I have and stuff. And as you were saying earlier, anyone can podcast. I mean, really.
Best and worst thing about podcasting, anyone can do it.
It is.
And that's what kind of hurts us that's what we're talking about off the air, the legitimacy problem or at least current status that, again, is eroding because good podcasting is happening and they can't ignore it and they can't ignore the audience that we bring.
And it's not hard to do a little research and find out, hey, this is a guy who's put up 3 or 4 episodes and then pod faded or whatever, versus like you who's been doing it for forever and a day. I mean, since podcasting pretty much existed, I think you've one of the early adopters.
Well, I was early. I mean, there are a couple before me. Comic Geek Speak was a couple of months before me, and Fanboy Radio was a couple of years before me and everything.
Okay.
I mean, they
started radio.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah. Oh, no, definitely.
Yeah, not discounting.
But no. And I mean, but yeah. I mean, like I always like to say, we were all in the top 10 because there were only 8 of us.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
and it's kind of true. And also, I'd go back to that 2006 podcast panel that we did and see who's still podcasting. I would say half of that panel is no longer podcasting anymore.
I would say maybe a little higher than that because, I mean, Comic Geek Speak is, as far as I know, is still going.
Oh, yeah, they're still going.
But it's also a different group than they had back then.
Exactly right.
And that's a great strength for that podcast, too, is the new voices.
Comic News Insider, Joe doesn't do it anymore, but Jimmy still does it.
Okay.
Lenny Taylor, I read comics. She hasn't done it for years.
Cammy's Corner.
Cammy's Corner is gone. Was he part of that 06? I don't know if he was in 06.
Not in 06.
But Cammy, you're right. Cammy, Augie the Bleak.
Augie, yeah.
He's still
doing the
he does
articles,
the columns. I saw in his basking in his retirement, Jonah Weiland from CBR, and he is the happiest rich guy I know.
Good.
Because he can relax and enjoy himself, and he is like touring the world. And last I saw from his Facebook, he's in Amsterdam. But he came to Chicago because Art and Franco at their Skokie store had a signing for Kingdom Come for the 20th anniversary.
That was, I think, the weekend he ended his time at CBR.
Yep.
And what a great kind of a bookend, because it was Kingdom Come that got him started on that stuff.
Yeah, CBR, I guess, grew out of a Kingdom Come message board, which is pretty crazy.
Talk about a wild success story. I'm so happy that he's able to travel the world and do stuff.
Jonah,
Jonah's a great guy.
Jonah's awesome. Matt Brady as well, and I've had them both on in the last couple of years to talk. Actually, Jonah hasn't been on yet, and he even said let me kind of decompress and gain more perspective as opposed to like right afterwards. And I said sure, because I did the same thing with Matt Brady. And I'll tell you, that's another thing that keeps changing, and it's something I think we've discussed at these podcast panels as well, is access and how it's in some ways it's getting easier, and in some ways it's getting harder. It's very interesting.
Some publishers that just will give you anything you want and are really easy to work with. Others, the exact opposite. Nope, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny.
Well, and that's I think a reflection on how my podcast has changed a little over the years, because I used to be able to do the weekly comic spotlight for these weeks, still doing a Marvel and DC. It took a little finagling schedule-wise, but it got to the point where it's like, okay, I need to record these in advance. It's taken enough of my time driving out here and stuff. Can't get a Marvel and DC book. Fine. 2 weeks a year, we go all indie.
Okay.
And almost every time guaranteed to have a Dark Horse book, because Aub gets his stuff out 2 weeks in advance. It's easy to get the review copies.
Sure.
I mean, he's one of those guys who works great with the press.
Dark Horse, Boom, Valiant.
Dynamite was actually pretty good.
Dynamite's okay. That's good. That's good to hear.
And there have been a couple of books as a result I have read that I never would have read otherwise. One or two, it's like one this time I actually gave a perfect score to, and it's like I got to go hunt down the previous volume.
Which one?
It was Red Team Double Tap Center Mass #1.
I don't know that book.
Garth Ennis and...
Oh, is it one of his war books?
No, it's a police procedural.
Oh, cool. Oh, man.
And the artist whose name I'm blanking on, it's not photorealistic art, but it reads like and kind of looks like a TV show primetime cop drama.
Like Michael Lark used to do with Gotham Central, I was going to say.
It kind of like that, but this was to the
Even
point
more so?
Where I felt like I should have been recognizing the actors who were playing the roles, kind of a thing.
Like J.G. Jones did with Wanted.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of a thing.
That's funny.
It was.
Oh, I'm going to have to check that out.
It was brilliant stuff. And again,
that's cool.
Luck of the draw. It's like, I need a third book. That's a third book. We'll go with that.
Garth Ennis, vastly underrated. Vastly underrated, I think. I mean, and I mean, it maybe challenges mainstream readers by the genres he chooses sometimes. But I think that's awesome, and I mean, it just shows his versatility.
Absolutely, I never would have pegged him as being the guy who could just nail a police procedural style, tone, voice, everything.
Sure.
And I mean, I more equate him with like the Punisher Max stuff or the hardcore stuff, and it's like, oh, it's Garth Ennis.
Did you ever read his war stories when he was doing those in the early 2000s, for example?
No, but my co-host TJ has read a lot of that stuff,
that's good stuff.
And likes it a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he always found like great artists that feel the same way and is strongly about those subjects and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know like David Lloyd, I got to talk to him about it in particular, and he was so proud of this naval story he did with Garth and everything. So I've always wanted to do that, and finally I found a writer that wants to do it too.
Oh, that's cool.
So Dixon is like that too. Dixon, as he got kind of shunned by DC and Marvel, I think it's only allowed him and forced him to go to other genres, but just shows what kind of craftsman he is. And I think you hand him any from Simpsons comics to his war and Western stuff, I mean, and Sword and Sandal, and you name the genre, I think Chuck can do it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with him politically. I always put that out there because I think he's got a very strong political voice. Yet, I really appreciate his friendship, and I love it when he comes on Word Balloon, and I think he's a very smart guy.
Well, and if they're really good creators and stuff, I'm sometimes curious about what they think politically or whatever. But really, when I'm reading their work, I want to be entertained.
Sure.
Exactly.
No, I hear you, man.
And that's what it's all about. And I love it when they can get a creative team comes together that's very passionate about a book or whatever. And again, this is the sort of thing they want to be doing and maybe can't at one of the mainstreams or whatever. It's like, hey, more genres, more material, the better.
Where do you think crowdfunding is right now? Do you think it's still as strong as it was? Is it getting stronger? Where do you see it?
From my wallet, it's gotten stronger because I've put in for quite a few.
Do you think the end of the Star Trek lawsuit is going to affect it also in the minds of some?
Oh, did you do the Axonar thing? I did.
I did the Axonar thing. I
love
did
that guy. I love
Captain
Rob.
Pike and a few others. Most of what I've been doing is either tech
I don't know
stuff.
Captain Pike. Was that another crowdfunding?
That was another crowdfunding.
Oh, man. Does it look good? Did they have any
It
sort
looked
of...
promising.
How long of a video did they do a
God.
video or no?
It's been like 6 months or more since I funded that one. And
gonna have to look that one up.
It seemed like one where they were doing another funding to do the next part of the film or something like that, which is a little disconcerting.
How much of the film did they put up?
The
Pitch
reward
video or
I
whatever?
get was a full
okay.
video, so I was expecting them to have funded the whole video, but I may have misread or whatever.
Well, but what did they in their pitch for crowdfunding? Because like Axonar had a good 20-minute.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was
thing
Prelude,
stands
yeah.
on its own as a
It does.
really good story.
Yeah.
Well, and just amazing production values.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I think
Yeah.
they went wrong. Is it's too good.
I understand. I know. I've had this conversation ever since the lawsuit happened, and it's
Well,
but
it's a combination of it was too good, and they built their own studio they wanted to rent out.
Well, because leading up
I think
to
that made it too much of a business.
oh sure. Well, no, absolutely. The thing is, they were above board on all that, and it's you want us to make a movie, we're going to have a place to shoot it, and again, I think they were above board, and they're not the first crowdfunding initiative to pay the people that are making their thing. I mean, you can make it as simple as Jill Thompson doing a Scary Godmother doll.
Yeah.
She is not making the dolls. She is hiring someone to do that. I mean, so money is being earned. It's her character in that case.
Well, yeah,
obviously.
that
Yeah.
helps a lot. We
But
did
go
an
ahead.
episode on various Star Trek projects.
Okay.
Star Trek Continues.
I like it.
Star Trek of Gods and Men. I
Okay.
forget one or two of the others.
Of Gods, wasn't that one of them? That's Phase whatever. James.
Well, of Gods and Men had Uhura and Chekhov reprising their roles.
and that's the one too with Captain whatever who killed Kirk.
Harriman.
Captain Harriman, yes.
Yeah, and
Cameron from Ferris Bueller.
exactly.
Alan Rucker.
Alan Ruck, thank you. I'm blanking
Alan
on
Rucker,
some of
that's
the
right.
actor
I was
names.
going to say Rucker, but yeah, Ruck.
But they had actors from various other branches of Star Trek, and it was well done. Not quite the production values that Axonar had, but
No, it was
Axonar was again high production.
Oh my
values.
God! Yeah, no. Well, again, they hired professionals to do it. They hired up and down. The thing that bothered me about CBS and Paramount going after Axonar was Tim Russ had his Star Trek Renegades movie.
Yeah, we've watched that.
and that had very good production values. I think Axonar was slightly better, but the battle scenes in Renegades were very good. I thought.
I felt Axonar was rivaling a theatrical release.
Oh, absolutely.
And I thought Renegades was a high-end fan film.
Interesting.
So I thought, and less the ship scenes than more the just the live action footage.
I understand. Did you see the adaptation of Mindsifter, the short story?
No.
Watch that because it's a great time travel story, and it was
okay.
in one of the original paperbacks that came out in the early 70s called Star Trek New Voyages.
Got it.
And it's Kirk gets dumped in the 50s in a mental institution
I
by
might
the
have actually
Klingons.
read the book.
And the Klingons use the Mindsifter to wipe out Kirk's memory, and anytime he tries to think of the Enterprise, it causes him pain.
Okay.
And so he's stuck in a straitjacket in a 50s insane asylum. The video adaptation is very. It felt like an Outer Limits or a good Twilight Zone. I was really impressed. I agree with you from the acting and my comparison is it's like going to see college theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in that I appreciate the effort and it's got a level of craft to it, but it's certainly not Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not pure
I
stage.
gotta say,
Yeah.
though, Star Trek Continues is a lot of fun.
Oh, it's great. Oh my God, the lighting.
They nail the effect, the look
Everything,
of that era
yeah.
of the show.
Oh, but that's like even when they do their scenes, the lighting is perfect. I mean, if you were nearsighted and squinting at the TV, you might mistake Vic, whatever his name is, for Kirk.
Vic Montaigne or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you're watching the show from an alternate timeline where they just had different actors.
There
Yeah.
you go. Exactly. No, it's I like that show a lot, and I appreciate the writing.
Yeah.
I think the writing's really good.
It is.
When I asked about crowdfunding, I meant, though, and honestly, I appreciate the tangent because I love all the Star Trek stuff in particular. But I was wondering about from comics and everything.
For comics, I'm not really seeing anything personally that seems to be really tapping into that well. I think there have been a couple of companies that have maybe experimented or whatever with it.
Not companies, but even just I'm saying when creators are going out to like kind of make their own books.
I think it's a smart move for creators to do.
Do you think it's still like going well? Do you think that it's flat? I mean, I don't know how much you're paying attention. I'm
not paying that much of attention.
Okay.
I'm not hearing much about it from my listeners. I'm not seeing much about it when I go through Indiegogo or Kickstarter. I'm not actively looking for that stuff either. I have seen, I think it's Supers number 6. They were trying to get that crowdfunded and a few other things.
Okay.
I think it's a smart move for the publishers and creators to do, just because it kind of builds up the audience ahead of time and lowers the risk.
Yeah, exactly.
So from that perspective, from a reader perspective, I don't like it because of the lag time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
One of I think the first Kickstarter I did was for Comics Writer, software for writing comic book scripts.
Okay.
That
did they end up doing the software?
That was 3 years ago. They're still just about to release.
Oh boy. No, I understand, and there are those kinds of buyer beware stories of things that don't happen. John Ostrander and Jan Duursma just did one and succeeded.
Good.
And in fact, succeeded and had people that still wanted to contribute. So what started as a Kickstarter, they're like, okay, if you want, we'll do an Indiegogo with a very modest threshold, but saying if you still want to buy the finished book, here's an Indiegogo, which I think is smart because,
that is one of the things I've noticed more on the tech side with the crowdfunding space is there's now like the in-demand in other ways that once it's gotten that initial funding, you can keep funding.
Yes.
And
Kickstarter, I think, won't
great.
allow you to do that, but obviously
Indiegogo, I think,
and that's the thing. These other crowdfunding platforms have popped up that will allow you to do it. I've been using Patreon for Word Balloon, and I honestly will say that I really appreciate the people that subscribe. It's a small number compared to my overall audience, but they are dedicated. I don't ask a lot of them, and I mean it helps me get to things like San Diego and do all this. So I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that they see the value of what I do and are like, something this isn't, they think it is, worth their time. And, and I appreciate that.
To me, one of the things that keeps my podcast going is just having the listeners participate, send in clips to the preview spotlight. I've got a donation button on the front page of my website that's been used maybe 6 times over the years. But, just once in a while I get, enough to go have a meal or something like that, a small meal. But it's the thought that counts. And just getting that feedback of, hey, what you're doing is worth my time.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I try to do with some of the creators here is just go up to them and say, hey, I've enjoyed your work over the years.
Of course.
Getting to do that with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and C2E2 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, there are very few artists I would put as the pinnacle of comic art.
God.
And he's one of the few I put above, like George Perez, who's one of my favorites. But, I mean...
Well, think of beyond the comics he did, the calendars, the lunchboxes, the pajamas, the birthday cakes.
He is the look of DC.
Yeah, that late 70s, early 80s look. Absolutely, man. No, that, I guess you'd say, like late Bronze Age.
Yeah.
Pre-crisis.
Almost definitive of that for DC.
Truly, he did the style guide. I got a process page from the DC style guide, and it has 2 Flashes and a Superman and a Batman on it, and it's the best $100 I've spent this year.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, and just being able to go up to him and say, hey, I appreciate the work you've
Absolutely.
done.
No, and that's cool, because, I haven't released it yet. I just spoke with, Danny Fingeroth.
Okay.
And we were talking about Larry Lieber because he mentored Danny in terms of being an editor. He first worked under Larry. And I said, you never see Larry at the conventions. And he goes, I think Larry's been in 3 conventions in the last 60 years. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's kind of interesting. He goes, no, he's just a private guy and everything. And it reminded me that when Batman artist from the 70s and 80s and got
Bill Finger? No. Jim Aparo.
Jim Aparo, exactly who. Thank you, my man. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, when he finally came to San Diego and he was at a spotlight and so many people came up and said nice things and he started crying.
Yeah.
And he's like, I never knew, and that's like insane. It's like, my God, man. Dude, you're one of the signature Batman artists.
Exactly. He was like the look of Brave and the Bold for the longest time.
Oh my God, yeah. back when Batman and Wildcat were getting together and breaking the fold. I mean, that's my early Jim Aparo stuff. And great Charlton comics before he even got to DC. You know, it was Giordano that brought him over to DC. But yeah, it was like Neil Adams and Jim Aparo were like the two great Batman artists. So no, it's cool, and it's, you know, it's interesting though, the people that, you know, you hope to get a chance to say thank you before it's too late. Yeah. You know, and that's why I was like with Larry Lieber. I'm like, wow. And people don't realize how much Larry Lieber does. You know, he draws the Spider-Man comic strip. Mm-hmm. You know, it's stuff like that. And you know, it's like you break it down. It's like, you know, technically one of the creators of Thor, Larry Lieber. Yeah. Because he didn't come up with the concept, but he scripted it. Yeah. Yeah. So you gotta his name better be there along with Stan and if it was Jack, if not Don Heck, I forget which. Or Warner, or maybe Werner Roth.
I am so bad with creator names and that kind of stuff.
I'm not sure, but yeah, you know. So another reason to come to the cons is to do that.
Absolutely. It's amazing how much the industry changes from year to year. Because I mean, again, a year ago, I think the crowdfunding space was a little bit different. I think certainly the frequency of release for comics was different. We're getting to where it's like every other week stuff's coming out. And to me,
do you think Marvel's going to follow suit on that?
Marvel's done it first. I mean, I'm getting like an issue of Iron Man every other week, it feels like.
Well, that's true. They are spread over a couple different titles, though, right?
No.
Is it just
there are times, because the way my podcast works is I am recording one weekly comic spotlight, and we've picked the next two that we're doing, or we're picking two out. So it feels like what we're about to pick, it's like, wait, we're reviewing that tonight. Let's not pick that for 2 weeks out.
Wow.
I mean, they've got a quick cadence. It's every 2 or 3 weeks on a lot of books. And to me, that's the big difference with Rebirth, is going twice monthly on these books. You know, and where you were saying earlier how they had a big influx of readers and stuff with New 52 and it went down. Well, it's because you can sample everything, but you can only keep getting so much.
Right.
And that'll be different this time. But again, it's just a difference in every year. There's some subtle changes, sometimes big changes, again, like the frequency and number of titles. But there's still that audience, there's still that demand, there's still that hunger for just new material and different stuff. It's one of the things that I find very interesting coming to con is just what are they pushing, what are they expecting has worked, what do they think is going?
Well, and it's going to be interesting, actually. I guess tomorrow are you going to the breakfast tomorrow for DC?
No, I wasn't planning on it. I haven't been invited.
There's a 9 o'clock on Thursday and Friday. It sounds like the same kind of stuff they were doing at the Retailer Summit. Okay. But I think this is more for the press. I wonder, I mean, certainly Marvel is moving a lot of their announcements now to D23.
Makes sense.
The Disney
thing convention. In a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And also for years, it seems like as much as they do announce here at Comic-Con and stuff that they're holding stuff off, they would do stuff in Chicago, they would do stuff at Fan Expo, and announce around Comic-Con and not as much at Comic-Con because it gets drowned out by
exactly. I was going to say
the TV
it's lost
and movie.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's and certainly like this week leading up to Comic-Con, Dynamite's been spewing a lot of announcements. Boom has been spewing a lot of announcements. Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of stuff gets announced before, during, and after, and there's just a media blast happening at that point. I find it impossible to keep up on my email this time of year.
Oh my God! I got off the airport or the airplane to come here, and there were 63 emails waiting for me since this morning. And I'm like, all right, crap. That's interesting. Crap.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, this I got to read now. This I can put off for a couple of weeks. That I'll file it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the huge mistake, and I'm glad that I've started to see it on social media. A lot of creators going, "Hey, young wannabe creator, big idea. Do not try to start your Kickstarter around Comic-Con because it's a huge mistake because no one cares. It's our focus is elsewhere. Everyone's focus is elsewhere. Not a good idea." So, and I'll still get a few people, "Hey, can we talk?" And it's like, no, I'm sorry. July is Comic-Con. I'll probably have some time in mid-August, but
I've had a couple of things.
Dance card is full.
Can we talk about this? It's like, no, not right now.
Yeah, just can't.
Yeah.
Too busy. Far too busy.
Well, there's the prep for Comic-Con, there's Comic-Con, there's the recovery from Comic-Con,
exactly.
which is, I think, longer than all the rest. But yeah.
That's true, too. Do you go right back to work on Monday, or do you...
Oh, no. Monday we start... Well, actually...
Oh, that's right. You guys take the long trip back. You guys always do the road trip.
This time we're going up to Anaheim for SIGGRAPH.
What's SIGGRAPH?
It's a graphics convention.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
where all the augmented reality, virtual reality, and just 3D graphics and stuff, all their big announcements are.
Wow.
So,
Cool.
like, one of the booths that used to be here, Smith Micro, that was doing Poser and Manga Studio, the show didn't work out well for them. SIGGRAPH is right nearby, or time-wise, so that's their target market, so they're going there.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'll check them out there then.
Interesting. Wow.
So,
Man, Katie Cook was telling me, I saw her in the lobby, that right after this, she's going to a Honolulu Comics convention.
wow.
And I'm like, boy, that's... But you know what's funny? She's like, I hate the sand. I hate the water.
Oh, God.
I'm like... Katie, Jesus, it's not island paradise, literally. And she's like, well, my husband likes it. I'm like, well, that'll be nice.
But that's one of the other things that's changed a lot over the years. It's getting to where not only are there so many conventions, but they're like right on top of each other.
Well, that's the thing. Seriously, man. Although, again, it's Honolulu, and I don't blame them. And I'm sure a lot of creators are like, all right, do I want to deal with another San Diego or do I want to go to Hawaii?
Tough choice, yeah.
Especially if they're being invited.
Oh, yeah.
They're flown over.
We noticed with the June convention we went to in Dallas that several of the guests were there for just one day. And we're like, what's going on with this? We're used to San Diego where you're here for the whole thing or something. And then I get
Was it a
home.
Wizard show, by the way?
No.
This
Okay.
is,
Because I know Wizard shows.
same
are like
company
Fan
that does
Expo.
Toronto. It's
Oh,
Fan
okay,
Expo,
yeah, Fan Expo, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the guests were then flying off to D.C. and other conventions.
Sure.
They were doing 2 conventions that weekend.
Same weekend. Wow. Amen.
Hey, I don't
Whatever.
fault them for that at all.
No, but I'm just stunned by the energy they have. And
I
also
know.
you really got to read the websites in advance to know which day the person you want to see is going to be there.
True.
But it also shows what big industry the convention business has gotten to be.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is this convention huge, but New York is huge. I mean,
They keep growing. They keep doing that. I agree.
There is demand for this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and again, look what TV and film are doing to create new audiences and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
I love it.
It cracks me up at work. I really went from being the oddball to all of them going, I'm watching Flash with my kids. What
Yes.
can you tell me about this character?
I have one coworker in particular who's always pestering me to get current on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because she has questions on that.
I've got one as well.
What's going on here? I've got others who are
That's
asking about
hilarious.
this, that, and the other.
Yeah. It's funny. And I mean, that's great. And that's excellent. That's wonderful. And, if it spills into comics, that's fine. It's interesting because obviously I think there is a little disappointment. I'm sure there's just a teeny bit of disappointment that it isn't generating more readers.
I certainly find it interesting that it would take like 0.5% of the people who buy like the Blu-ray or whatever to like double the comic sales.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just not happening. But to my mind, it's like when I was watching Super Friends as a kid. I wasn't then turning around and necessarily – well, actually, I probably was buying the comic.
I was going to say I was. Yeah, man.
But even if I wasn't –
It led me to the comics.
It led me to the comics eventually. People who were watching that X-Men cartoon on Fox in the 90s may not have bought an X-Men cartoon then – or a comic then, but it made them much more predisposed. So now we've got an audience that is completely prepped and excited about this material, accepting of these properties. Sooner or later, they will come. And either to the print stuff or to the digital, which seems to have leveled off.
Yeah, that's been interesting. And it's not just comics. I noticed e-books as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you, I've got my right there. I got my Kindle Fire right there.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the convenience of digital comics and digital books.
Well, and that's also where like the Marvel Digital Comics Unlimited comes into play, because that's something – I'm just waiting for that Doorbuster special to kind of kick me over the edge and sign up for that thing. But I've got a number of coworkers who they're able to be casual comic fans. Oh, Civil War movie's coming out. I should go read the old Civil War stuff. Boom, it's all right there.
Yeah. No, it's great. No, I agree. And it's interesting that DC has still held off and not done a similar subscription model.
I think it's
What do you think?
good that they don't, because if they did, I would sign up for that. Weekly Comic Spotlight would probably do a 6-month hiatus, and then industry revenue would plummet as I go all digital. Because literally at that point, for about $20 or less a month, I'd be able to get everything digitally versus the amount I'm spending now, which is more than 20.
How much of a lag is there for Marvel Digital to
6
current?
months.
It's only 6 months.
Yeah.
It's only one story arc. Interesting.
I've got a co-host, Sam, who's reading a lot of Marvel stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, no, I have a couple coworkers
Way
who do the
more.
same, and they're thrilled, and it's like, oh, no, I'm really catching up, and now they love it. And it's a great deal.
It's an amazing deal.
So I know. I mean, every now and then I keep, I miss the Father's Day one, and I should have taken advantage of it then. So believe me, I know what you mean. Although I have to say, when I go to the store, I am supporting more indies than I am the big two.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Yes.
And I'm very particular. I mean, I like crime comics. I'm surprised I hadn't heard about that Garth Ennis book. It's a lot of it is. I like Aftershock. I think Aftershock's been a very impressive.
They've been doing some good
new,
stuff.
Publisher.
Yeah. Replica was really good. I'm a little behind on Super Zero. Looking forward to Captain Kidd and Lifespanners, I think, was the other one. Revisionist is interesting.
Yes. I'll tell you, I was never a Valiant person. I checked out of comics when Valiant was happening, but the level of talent forced me to kind of pay attention to Valiant in a lot of ways. And it is more of the it's more of the side stuff, like Divinity. I really loved what Kent did with that.
They're doing a lot of things that can be seen either as superhero stuff or as not superhero stuff. They're right there on the peripheries of that genre, which is great.
And they got that Chinese film money coming in.
Man, when that kicks in, and
that's what I was going to say, exactly.
The Harbinger, Bloodshot, war type stuff as movies.
Yes.
That's when I think we may see Valiant go from, they published to, that's Valiant.
We'll see. That's what's interesting. It's an interesting gamble because that's the flip side of the TV and film success of Warner Brothers and Disney, when there are like-minded films and television that don't have big names, and there's that kind of indifference to them.
Well, you've got the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that game plan they've had that DC has tried to just replicate and shortcut.
Right.
But with Valiant, the plan they seem to have, at least for the initial few movies from what I've seen, mirrors what they did in the comics. So they've got the storyboards, the whole game plan already written out and kind of proven out through the comic side. So it could work great. It could be a swing and a miss. It could be too late by the time the movies come out. Maybe the bubble has burst on the number of superhero things we've got out there.
Well,
I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't know because people are going to point to that and say, well, yeah, people are getting sick of superhero movies or whatever. And I'm like, no, I think they just hold out for the good ones and the ones that they think are going to be the good ones. And if it's an unknown quantity that, I don't know how it's going to do.
I don't think we've got the bubble bursting as a real possibility like the Western genre, the romance stuff, the musicals.
And by the way, I want to point out, as I always do with Westerns, it took 70 to 80 years for the bubble to finally burst.
Yes.
So, let's hope that we get a quarter of that.
Well, and also I think it got to the point where they ceased to be relevant because, people aren't riding horses anymore kind of a thing.
But they weren't riding horses in the 50s. At their zenith in the early 60s. True. Actually, I think TV killed the film Western because it all kind of went to TV.
Yeah.
And there was that period in the very late 50s and very early 60s when there were literally like 40 television Westerns at the same time.
But didn't Westerns appeal to the people whose grandparents told them stories about when that was my life?
Yeah, probably. To a degree. But I don't know. My Greek immigrants weren't, out on the Western Trail or anything like that.
But that's
for your Scotch and Irish people, sure.
But my point is that I think the Westerns started dying off when the audience not only couldn't relate to it personally, but they weren't getting the family stories that gave them the relate to it aspect.
You didn't
also
have the grandparents telling the stories. You didn't have.
Well, you guys were from that Western, area, so that's true. But again, I'm in Chicago, and we had the immigrant story happening and stuff. So I don't know. But that's probably that might be true from your region. I don't know. That's interesting.
I just think with the superhero stuff, it's enough science fiction based. And you look at the technology explosion we've had in terms of cell phones and the internet and stuff. It's very relevant. We're growing
with it. We're growing with it. No, I agree with that. Another thing, too, about Westerns, and now and again, my tapioca brain just made it go away. Come on, John. What was it again? I know what it was. The early 70s, on television, all of a sudden, there was a huge push for less violence in both police and Westerns. It literally killed the Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West was only 3 seasons old and a very popular show.
Yeah.
But it came from the Nixon administration, toned down the violence on TV, and CBS canceled a hit show because they're like, all right, well, if we do that, then there's really no story.
Yeah.
Because it was an action-adventure story. And Gunsmoke became, especially in its final years, much more of a family drama than it was showdown on the street and stuff. So yeah, I kind of think that's another thing that it kind of in the same way that Wortham's influence on comics kind of hurt comic books in the 40s and 50s.
Fundamentally changed, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it might have been that. I think that's a contributing thing, but who knows?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. The pendulum swings back and forth on those kinds of things. Certain genres come and go. I always find it fascinating where the twists and turns go from.
Oh my God, it's I feel the same way. And before comics, boxing obsessed me for a very long time, 16 years, and it was just watching what was going to happen next was always part of the appeal, and that's why I'm as interested in the geek culture, because literally I believe we are if we're not at the dawn, then we're still in the salad days.
Yeah.
I don't think we've reached the zenith. I don't think we've reached the zenith yet. I don't think we've reached peak geek, as Rob Salkowitz would say.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's still coming.
I think so, because
Warner's is just getting started with all their stuff, and once they get their house in order, watch out. They've got it. They got it down in TV. Honestly, I would just what I'd do? I'd fire everybody. I'd hire Berlanti and Guggenheim and all these guys and women that are producing Supergirl and Flash and all these shows and throw them at the movies. I mean, now everyone's going, but Berlanti was involved in Green Lantern. It's like, he was one voice of 6.
Yeah. Well, and look what he's done since. I think he learned lessons.
Exactly, man. Hey, Favreau said that. Favreau's like, I could not have made Iron Man if I hadn't made Zathura and a couple other movies before it to understand what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And absolutely, and Loeb will tell you the same thing, because he learned a lot from Heroes that he could apply. And this is what we don't do with these Marvel shows as we move forward. No, there are lessons to be learned. Absolutely, and that reminds me. Next time I talk to Loeb, I'm going to have to ask him and go, all right, give me some serious lessons. What did you learn?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So he's
I'd love
great.
to hear that.
And it's just he's a guy. And again, the difference between the two companies, I could pretty much talk to anybody I want with Marvel except Dan Buckley. And the only reason why Dan's just like. He gets nervous on and that's fine.
Yeah.
I get it.
Some people are that way.
But Jeff is great that way. And it's great that we've got somebody like Jeff making these shows, because he's a fan too.
Yeah.
And he is willing to say, again, and I can literally go, isn't this awesome that you're doing this? And he's like, yeah. And this is great.
Well, when you've got the people with the right talent and that passion for the
enthusiasm for the material, yes.
That's when you get just some great stuff.
Yeah.
And we're getting so much of it now. We've got the Star Wars movies. We've gotten the first of a whole bunch that we're going to get. I mean, to even think we're close to peak geek at this point, I don't see it.
I'm surprised, as we're recording this, they've already announced that there's going to be a 4th Star Trek movie from JJ. And that at first surprised me, but then it's like, well, that's based on the strength of this movie, I guess. That seems to be the case, at least from a Paramount standpoint. So maybe they've finally gotten it right. I mean, again, we'll know, I'm sure by the time this comes out, the movie will be out, unless you're going to put it out tomorrow.
No.
But
not going to do it that quick.
All right, how quick? Are you going to watch it next week? Are you going to go see the movie?
We're going to see the movie probably when we get back home, so maybe another week or two.
That's cool.
That's on the list. I'm a big Star Trek fan.
Me too. I'm taking off till next Wednesday. So I'm sure, once I've decompressed, probably Monday or Tuesday night,
I always have to tease John. The most exotic place he ever walked around was Romulus.
Our dad, Romulus.
Yeah.
You know the cafe that Picard and Data waited for Spock at?
Yes.
We've been there.
Where is it?
It was on the Paramount lot. It was only there for a couple of days.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We actually got a set tour one time.
Wow.
We got to go on the transporter pad.
Nice.
Couldn't go onto the bridge of the Enterprise because it was, again, Nimoy's there.
Okay.
It's like, okay, I get you got to lock certain things down. I get that. I respect that.
That's huge.
Yeah. Going through.
Did you do the Vegas? Go ahead and finish. And then
we did some of Deep Space Nine, some of the other standing sets, the cave.
That's great.
Kind of stuff.
Wow.
We've been to the Star Trek Experience. We didn't go do the full thing, but we did that a couple of years back. We went through Vegas one time.
Because when I would get to go cover boxing in Vegas, I would always, and luckily was there until, probably late Sunday afternoon. So the fights were Saturday night usually. So after I was done with all the fights and stuff, I would make time. I would get all my bags, go to the Vegas Hilton, go through the experience, get drunk at Quark's, which was fantastic. They had a drink called the Warp Core Breach. It was like a rum punch. It was fantastic. And They did have the full-sized Enterprise D bridge.
All right.
As part of it.
Well, a couple years
it was
back
great.
at the Aerospace Museum here, they had the bridge.
Oh, that's cool. And I know right now in New York, and I don't know if it's. I think it's actually the new Voyages fan film, James Cowley's, which is like authentic to the T.
Yeah, again, as we were saying earlier with the fan films, the quality they do and the reproduction of the sets is unbelievable.
So yeah, I'm kind of hoping it'll still be there in October when I'm out there for New York Con or whatever.
That'd be cool.
Make a pilgrimage. But yeah, that was my that's my biggest moment was just going to the Star Trek experience and doing it. I only did it when it was the Next Generation one. I never did it when it was Voyager and the Borg.
I can understand that.
I didn't care. I mean, I like Voyager.
I like Voyager too, but Next Gen was really, I think, one of the peaks for Star Trek.
Oh, I'll be honest. I think Deep Space Nine was as well.
Yeah,
because I really think it asked tough questions. Like the way it tackled religion and religion's place in society.
Yeah, it dealt with religion a lot, and it had world building. I mean, the number of characters they built up.
And literally world building in terms of you were introduced to Bajor, you were introduced to Cardassia, and the way they played with all the other aliens. Yeah. And especially Bajor being a very reluctant, let's join the Federation. Wait a minute, we don't know if we want to join the Federation. Yeah. And the complicated characters, including Kira and Louise Fletcher, Kai Wynn. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what do you do when the Pope is against you?
Yeah.
And it's real, and also that the Pope's a false prophet.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, really interesting shit. Yeah, that was I thought Deep Space Nine was incredible. I told Avery Brooks that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't care, John.
Oh.
No, he didn't say that. He was awesome.
It's classic.
He wouldn't let me buy him a drink, though.
Oh, man.
But it was great because he totally Cisco'd me. And he's like, John, you don't need to buy me a drink. We're having a lovely conversation. And I'm like, okay, thanks. He was awesome.
I'm looking forward to the new TV show for Star Trek.
Me too, man. Are you gonna? So you're gonna do CBS All Access as well?
Almost certainly.
I know.
I mean, at this point, I'd like to know the premise, the time frame, little details about the show other than it's Star Trek. But
I trust Brian Fuller. I got to be honest, man. I love Pushing Daisies. Everything he writes, and he was a good Star Trek writer too. By the way, they're giving him way too much credit. He was a good Star Trek writer. Mm-hmm. He isn't this isn't Harlan Ellison stepping down, and actually they do have, however. Nicholas Meyer coming on the show as a consultant and everything, and that makes me happy. And I think he, as an outsider, contributed some amazing Star Trek.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but no, I'm confident. I think the right people are doing this show.
I think so.
And that's why, based on what I'm hearing about the fourth movie, or that they're going to make a fourth movie, Simon Pegg probably nailed it. And, he's one of us.
He is. The fact that he was writing it, I mean.
Yeah, that made us all like, okay, well, there's a chance. But I got to be honest, that first trailer, I was like, yeah.
It felt very Fast and Furious, and that the director influence was a little heavy. But if it's fun.
Well, and I keep hearing that, the characters have serious arcs. It plays like an original series episode. And if all that's true, then that's all you need to do for me.
Absolutely.
I was just were you let down by the second movie?
No, I loved it a lot.
Really? Star Trek Into Darkness?
Yeah.
I felt let down, I'll be honest with you.
There were a couple of things here and there with a little ludicrous or whatever, the beaming across galaxies or whatever, but they set that up.
No, that or even the Enterprise going underwater, none of the science bothered me.
Okay.
Because that's fun.
Yeah.
But that said, I'm not believe me, Word Balloon audiences have heard this more than enough times. I'm not gonna bore your audience with it. I'll tell you
okay.
But it is more like just character driven. And also at the end of the day, Zachary Quinto, I'm not crazy about him as Spock.
I like it. I liked how they paid homage to the Wrath of Khan stuff and went in a different direction, yet had parallels. They're respectful of the history while charting new ground.
I know that was the intent.
That's what I like.
But I felt like, they tried too hard with the fan service.
Yeah, I can see that too.
But, we'll talk off the air about that.
Absolutely. So
we can wrap if you want.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in a good conversation.
I agree.
I'm looking forward to the convention. I'm hoping I survive it this year, as always.
As I do as well, and I appreciate it. I also appreciate your Jay Garrick T-shirt. I'm assuming is that a Jay Garrick T-shirt or is that a Captain Marvel T-shirt?
It's a Captain Marvel T-shirt.
In my mind, it's still a Jay Garrick.
Jay Garrick would be upside down. The lightning comes up from the bottom.
Oh, that's interesting. Is that true? I'm gonna have to look. at my JSA comics.
You're gonna have to look that one up then. I see.
Because I was just gonna say that I know the lightning bolt's a little bigger on Jay Garrick. that I think it almost goes up to the neck.
It goes up to the neck, but it starts wide at the base and to the point at the top.
That's interesting.
You see, what I'm going to do is it's a red, Shazam T-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm going to have it and just kind of arc it a little when I go by the Bandai booth and say it's Power Rangers. Just do the curved lightning bolt kind of thing.
All right, that's fine. Well, dude, a pleasure as always. Good seeing you both, and thank you. And
glad we could do this.
Absolutely, and we'll touch base at the next con.
Sounds good.
Okay, a little postscript. I came back from Comic-Con with massive con crud. Man, I am telling you, I was all set to watch Star Trek either Monday or Tuesday coming back, but I had the flu really bad through Wednesday, and it just didn't happen until the weekend. So Friday night, I saw Star Trek. I really enjoyed it. I still feel like Zachary Quinto is a poor man's Spock. I don't know why. I think, and again, because some listeners are like, well, he's obviously different from Nimoy because he lost his planet and he lost his mother. Yeah, I saw the first two movies as well. I'm well aware of that. I get it. But I think inadvertently, and I made the comparison to Jason Todd and the way that he was written, I just think it kind of leads to a more petulant, a more bitchy Mr. Spock. And if you got a bitchy Mr. Spock that's kind of smug, Nimoy, I guess, had a little bit of that, too, in the early portrayal. But I just got used to Nimoy's poker face and subtlety when it came to presenting the character. And there are moments with Quinto like that, but the guy just literally wears his emotions on his sleeve. And I felt like we got a lot of that in the movie. I think it diminishes his arguments with Dr. McCoy when they go at it. By the way, Carl Urban, his usual letter best self. Really, I love the crew up and down. I love everybody as far as the new crew. I think they all do great jobs with the characters. And it's that lone exception of Zachary Quinto. And it's nothing personal because I thought he was great on Heroes. I've enjoyed him in other things that I've seen him in as well. I think he presents himself well in interviews. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just don't care for his portrayal of Mr. Spock. And it, to me, always seems to kind of hurt the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films. That said, I would say out of 4 stars, I'd give it 3. Out of 5 stars, I'd give it, I guess, 3.5 or 4. If you prefer 5 stars, I don't know. I'm from a 4-star world. Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert are from a 4-star world here in Chicago, so that's kind of my measurement. I thought it was a very good film. I didn't think it was an excellent film. I thought the story was amazing, but again, I just think, Spock is a really important part of Star Trek. And every time I see Zachary Quinto, I feel like I'm watching a college actor kind of play it. He's the one that sticks out to me, and I just don't buy him as the character. But I loved everything that Simon Pegg did in the film as far as the storyline. What a great idea for a bad guy without spoiling everything. And I think it was fan service in the right way, where there are references that hardcore Star Trek fans would absolutely eat up, as opposed to just giving us callback scenes with new actors doing them, and like kind of the way they did in Star Trek Into Darkness. So I really hope Simon Pegg writes the 4th movie, and I look forward to it. And I am intrigued that Chris Hemsworth has been mentioned as being in the 4th movie. Does that mean we'll see him in flashback? Does that mean we'll see him in time travel? I don't know. I'm content to wait. If I'm talking to some other Star Trek fan in conversation, either on the show or later on, in a comic store or whatever setting and stuff, I'm happy to give my opinions. But, we won't know until it comes out, and that's great. And I would hope not to know. So I hope they don't spoil. Again, Idris Elba's bad guy. I'm really glad they kept a lot of that in the dark, and I congratulate them for keeping us in the dark. Again, I think a very intriguing way of presenting a new bad guy in Star Trek. So, I really did enjoy the story, and it got me excited about Star Trek again. I never lose my excitement for Star Trek, but there you go. And in fact, one of the best parts of the convention was they showed the movie, as I said, probably in the conversation with John and Kay. But the great thing was they Alex Peters, who plays Captain Garth in the Star Trek Axanar fan film that is currently being sued by Paramount and CBS. He saw the movie. He couldn't help but gush about it and how great it was. Now, that's a Star Trek fan, man, when they're suing you for millions of dollars. And and the guy still is like, hey, it was a great movie. I had a great time. So I thought that was terrific. So I saw the Galactica panel with Richard Hatch and Alex Peters. And I'm sorry to say I don't have the program in front of me, or I forget the woman's name, that was also a producer on Star Trek Axanar, and I think one of their main makeup people as well. And the three of them, obviously Richard Hatch, massive Galactica fan, but Peters and this woman as well. And it was great to hear them. And they speculated on what the next Galactica movie might be. Certainly a lot of votes for a Pegasus story, but that Glenn Larson project that was even going on while the Sci-Fi Channel's new Galactica series was happening. They're very intent on making a Battlestar Galactica movie or new project of some sort. I'm all for it. I think there's a rich history there, and they can go in a lot of different directions and go beyond the original story. So it would really be interesting to see them pick up Battlestar Galactica and give us a new direction and hopefully a new series or a series of movies. Who knows? But I'm all for it. Anyway, there you go. Those are my thoughts on today's episode of Word Balloon. And do me a favor and give me your thoughts. You can either do that via social email. You can also do that through SpeakPipe at wordballoon.com. Started to get a couple messages from SpeakPipe, and I'd be happy to share those with you on some upcoming Word Balloon episodes. But more content coming from Comic-Con. And also some fresh interviews as well that happened before and right after Comic-Con as well. Even with my crud, I still managed to do a couple interviews last week. So got to catch you up on all that. And also lots of people champing at the bit to come on in August. I am happy to accommodate. So you'll be hearing some return guests and some new people as well in the weeks ahead on Word Balloon. And I hope you'll enjoy the content that's coming up. Word Balloon is brought to you by, again, the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you very much for your support. And also from InStockTrades.com, where there's some really neat books going on right now at InStock Trades. You can get Guardians of the Galaxy Classic Trade Paperback Volume 1, featuring work by Michael Gallagher and art by Kevin West. This is the original Guardians in the year 3000. And I think you'll like it. It's 50% off, $17.49. You can get X-23, the complete collection. Lots of great writers and artists involved in this collection, looking at the woman clone, Laura Kinney, female Wolverine. It is how much? 50% off, $17.49, same price. Let's see what else we can get. Here, DMZ, God, one of my favorite books. Brian Wood, Riccardo Buccielli, if I may. This is trade paperback 2, issues 13 through 28, and it is 45% off, $13.74. Prison School. What the hell is Prison School? Very interesting. From Yen Press. This is a very cool anime. Or I'm sorry, manga. You see, this is why I suck. Okay, I am. I'm horrible at Japanese comics. Shame on me. Great manga. It looks very intriguing, and it is 25% off for 400 pages, just $15 at InStockTrades.com. You can tell I'm still in low gear, can't you? But I promise I'll brighten up in the days ahead. But lots of great books are on great discounts at InStockTrades.com. Canton Street Press is up to 50% off. There are lots of sales clearance titles up to 70% off. PS Art Books up to 70% off. So many great deals. Just go to InStockTrades.com and you'll find them there at prices you won't believe. Don't forget, $50 or more. If you're paying that much, they're going to give you free shipping. And they're just a great outfit with great books at great prices. InStockTrades.com. I know, everyone's like, all right, you've said it enough. We know where to go. They're my sponsor. They're good guys and women. We like those people. Hi, Cam. Hi, Christina. They're all right. All right. There you go. That's what I got for today. And thanks a lot for listening. I promise to be back in a few hours with another episode of Word Balloon. So if you just downloaded this, wait around about 12 more hours and there'll be something new as well. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2016.